This is BCTV Election Live, with political analysis and reports from campaign headquarters. Now, live from the BCTV studios, here's anchor Jim Masters.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Masters. We're here live at the BCTV television studios here in Branford, Connecticut for Election Night Live 2018. Thank you very much for joining us. What an amazing evening it is. We're going to have all the results for you here locally in Branford and throughout our region on the shoreline. Of course, the races in the state of Connecticut and nationally as well. It's going to be a memorable evening. Of course, it is the midterms as well. So there's a lot going on in our country, and we're going to have it all for you here live on BCTV. Joining me, it is sort of a round table of favorites because we are back together again. My good friend Lonnie Reid is here. Good to see you, our Democratic analyst.
Good to see you. Wonderful to be here.
And a familiar face here at BCTV is Frank Twohill, our Republican analyst as well. Thanks for joining us.
It's great to be here, Jim, with you and with our great state representative, Lonnie Reid. So, as you said, it's going to be a great, interesting night.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Lots going on. We're going to get to it all. First, I just wanted to ask you guys, in a minute we're going to go to Republican headquarters to Carla Augustin, but what's the mood out there from what you've seen in terms of people's feelings about this particular election period? They say the turnout has been massive locally, statewide, and nationally.
I was going from poll to poll today, and I think by 1 o'clock, pretty much every polling place had already 40% of its voters had reported in, had cast their ballots. And the mood was, we hear about all the divisiveness, and that exists, but it was really, you could see that people were really proud to be voting and participating. You know, it's sort of this reborn sense of what your democratic responsibilities are. And people were taking it seriously, and so it was very upbeat. It was, we had people waving and giving us thumbs up, but you don't know what that means. It's just hi. You can't make assumptions. So, but it was great to see because it's really the spirit of what it is to be an American and to really show up is so incredibly important.
Absolutely.
And we saw that today.
And Frank?
Well, Jim, at the first district poll this morning, I was standing there in the cold from 6 to 8, and the crowd was amazing. When I got there was people swarming like towards the door, and my first thought was, oh, these are all students or teachers, and then I realized, oh no, the school's closed today. There was a lot of interest. There was a heavy turnout. As you said, there was huge amounts of people came out. There was a report that came out in the Branford Eagle around 1 o'clock, and they spoke to the people in charge, and they said, like, for the first district, about 1,200 had already voted, and so there's a huge amount of interest. But I don't know how it's going to go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nobody does. Nobody does nationally either.
No, they don't. They don't. So stay tuned for all the latest.
We've all had those experiences with polls.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not very good experiences. So, everybody.
Some more than others, right?
Yeah. Yes.
We are going to go live now to Republican headquarters. Our reporter Carla Augustin is there, and she's with Ray Angraham right now. Again, BCTV Live. Jim Masters tossing it over to Carla Augustin at Republican headquarters. Carla.
Hi, we're here at the Branford Republican headquarters, and I am with Ray Angraham. Now, Ray, welcome.
Thank you. Good night.
It is a good night. Now, you wear a lot of hats, okay? You are the rep for the 5th District, and...
rep for the 5th District, majority leader in the RTM, Bob Imperato's campaign manager.
Treasurer, all of it.
Chairman of the Republican Party, so we try to fill many hats.
So, how do you think it went today? How did the race go?
The race has been going well. Today was very heartening to have so many people out voting. The real end game here is that we have an answer to what the people of Branford, the state want, and to have the numbers that came out today was really amazing.
And also, the rain didn't keep people away.
No, the rain. Actually, we had little delays where it sputtered down a little bit, but once they decided that it was going to keep raining, the line kept coming back.
Did you have to do anything special to get people out to vote?
Well, it's our typical stuff. We call up. We ask people. Mainly who for Bob's Imperato's campaign. Say, hey, are you going to vote for Bob?
Mm-hmm.
If they said yes, we made sure that they got a little nudge today and yesterday that we needed them to come out, and then regular advertising and going out and letting people know that it was time to vote today, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, whatever it took to make sure they came.
Now, you have a unique perspective because you have been both a candidate and now a campaign manager. What is it like when you work so hard on a campaign and done all you've done and you're waiting now for the count to come in?
Oh, the wait. Yeah, the wait. I was just mentioning to Bob, I said, I wish we closed at 6 o'clock. But we know closing at 6 o'clock, if I was working today, I wouldn't get home till 6 o'clock and I would miss out on voting. So we know we can't do that. And so it's once it gets dark, you get this, this feeling that, okay, let's count. Let's get to it. Let's find out what everyone wanted. We'll have a couple of drinks with our family. We'll go home. We'll eat a little bit. But it's really that. Or and if we've done everything that we were supposed to do, we win and we eat a little less, and we start planning for what we got to do to cover.
So how confident are you feeling tonight?
We feel good. We feel good about our numbers, what we've called, what we've asked people. If that comes out, then we'll have a very good outcome, and it'll be very close.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Ray. This was
you're
great,
welcome.
and good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Carla Gustin from BCTV.
Thank you, Carla. We'll have more updates from Republican headquarters as the updates come in, and Democratic momentarily as well. Any feedback from what you've heard with that conversation with Ray?
Well, Ray is absolutely right. I mean, knowing where your voters are, particularly in a close race, and I think both Bob and Robin Comey are very well known in town and well liked. It was a very civilized and civil campaign.
Yes.
So you really have to know who your people are, and you know it's going to be close, or you feel it's going to be close, and how to get them to the polls, and make sure that it's so amazing sometimes. Don't you find it amazing when people go, oh, today's election day?
It's true. No, people have said that.
No, it's true. Oh, this Tuesday?
That's it.
Because everybody's living a real life, and they're not
Absolutely.
necessarily totally focused on politics.
Absolutely.
The way some of us are.
But tonight we are. And so is our correspondent Zachary Turner, who is at Democratic headquarters. We're going to have a live report with Zachary right now. Zachary, take it away. Again, Democratic headquarters is with somebody special. Zachary, it's all yours.
Hello there, I'm Zach Turner with BCTV Branford, joined here by Linda Malo. Linda, tell me about your team.
Oh, well, we've had a fabulously organized team from, oh my goodness, it's been months now that we've been working together. It's been sort of a groundswell of support behind our new candidates this year because they were open spots, and everybody knows how hard it is to jump into politics, right. And especially in this climate. It's very divisive sort of situations that we're in. So it was amazing. We had, it was a lot of female support, a lot of women getting together and sort of raising up our candidates, and then we just had this most amazing sort of organizational movement. People came up out of nowhere. I said that they had talents that they shared with us. So, and then we had a lot of very generous donors this year. So, amazing. We all have a lot at stake in this election. So, for sure, everybody joined in.
That's great to hear. So, tell me what your favorite part has been about organizing these campaigns.
Well, it was really impressive. We tried a lot of new things this year. We tried postcards this year, and we had a group of people in here on a Friday night, and we had women and men sitting down, and we wrote 500 postcards. Wow. And we were addressing everybody saying, look, you need to support these candidates because they're going to protect what we hold important. And right. So it was really impressive effort. And the phone banks, and oh my goodness, it's just been amazing. This place has been full and buzzing. And today, like all weekend, it's been intense. And then we had phone banks 3 or 4 nights of the week, and it was just always a constant supply of people coming in and wanting to help.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what are the most important issues you think for your candidates?
Well, I mean, everyone understands that we do have a financial situation in Connecticut that we need to improve upon. We really want to drive the economy, and we want to be able to have a place where our kids are going to come back from college and they're going to raise their kids here. So we need to be able to have the jobs that are available for them, and we want to make sure we have education that's going to support those jobs. And we also we have a lot of concerns about we'd like some really good gun safety legislation. That's going to be important to us. It becomes a problem. We have a lot of start in Connecticut where we've had a lot of support trying to get that legislation moving, but we need to protect that. And we just really, our environment is important to us. We're an incredible coastal town. And
Most definitely, yes.
Yeah, we need to make sure that we are protecting our coast, and those are a lot of our priorities, but we really just want to make sure that we have healthcare access to it. I mean, a lot of folks in town are concerned about whether they can pay for medication for their child or pay for their rent. So that's not something we like to have.
I actually happen to agree with you on a lot of that, and I'm thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
This has been Zach Turner with BCTV.
Zach, thank you for that report. We'll be back to you momentarily for another live update. Jim Masters here at the BCTV headquarters. We are live with Lonnie Reid and Frank Twohill. Any comments on what you just heard Linda say there?
Well, I mean, those are all good goals. You know, it's true. We do have a beautiful coastline. We do want education for our children. We do want good jobs. And I think that we have, you know, everything in place for that, basically. I mean, we are protecting the coast, and the education is, you know, it's great in this state. I mean, especially the program from K through, I don't know, through 12, I guess. I mean, it's all very good. You know, it's good.
We have, I think, another thing that I've discovered is one of the battles that I fight nonstop is that because Branford, actually under Republicans and Democrats, has been a very well-managed town, we suddenly become vulnerable because suddenly there's the sense, well, we can dump more state programs such as the teachers' benefits and salary payments, you know, all of the retirement benefits rather. Suddenly there's this thing of how you can get it off the state books and dump it on the towns, and that will just make taxes skyrocket. So we're going to have to fight. I would say at the Capitol, yes, we have a wonderful community, and we have some people who live in this community who are high net worth individuals, but mostly we're a community of, we're incredibly diverse. We have all kinds of people who work hard and pay their bills and work hard to succeed, and the idea that that we're not recognized that way, that we're thought to be Greenwich.
Right, exactly.
You know, it's like we are
Shoreline.
not Greenwich.
Right.
It's a very nice place, Greenwich,
Right.
but
Right.
I think I find us much more interesting.
No, but that's true what you say, because for over 20 years we had this very small ECS grant from the state for the schools in Branford, you know. But I guess it was changed, and I want to thank you, Lonnie, because, you know, being up in Hartford, you actually changed the formula, so we got more. And I mean, all those years went by, and you know, and it was a jip to the town.
Yeah. Well, and I think, you know, we have, you know, moving towards 30 children. We have a very diverse population and a lot of new, wonderful, up-and-coming families. So we're approaching 30% on the free and reduced lunch program. So we actually have, you know, folks that are going to need a little bit more quality, you know, the backup education and that kind of thing. It's a really important investment, and we need to tell that story again and again and again. And go to the, you know, to the front line and fight that battle every session.
It does seem like this particular election season with the midterms and all these other things that we're looking upon, this is a big one. This is a really, really crucial and important one. And you can feel that vibe from both sides, all parties, independent, Republican, Democratic, unaffiliated, whatever it may be. You just have this feeling like there's a lot weighing on this. We're talking about environment and healthcare and taxes and even civility and bringing back unity. There's a lot going on here tonight, isn't there?
Well, and I think, you know, one of the things, I mean, the thing that has to be dealt with so that we can provide all of these wonderful assets that we have in Connecticut is that we have exploding fixed costs. You know, we have not just the state employees, but the teachers, and we have a very old population. It's a myth that, you know, that the senior citizens are all leaving. No, I think our median age is 47 years old, which is one of the oldest states in the union. We're losing the young people. You know, we're losing the worker bee people, and so we really have to do some restructuring, some serious budgetary restructuring, in order to be able to, you know, deal with providing the incredible high-quality lifestyle that we have here going forward.
And of course, we can't identify with that because none of us have reached 47 yet.
No, of course not. Years and years.
That's true.
47 flavors of ice cream. We're going to go back to Republican headquarters with Carla Augustin. She is with Robert Imperato. Carla, take it away. Republican headquarters, and again, Carla Augustin with our live update to see what's going on. Carla, it's yours.
Hi, we're back, and the numbers are starting to come in. It's very exciting here, and I'm with Bob Imperato. How are you feeling tonight?
Feeling great. Optimistic on the numbers. We'll see where everything falls out very soon.
That's wonderful. So now you are running for state rep for the 102nd district, correct?
I am indeed.
That's good. So you're feeling confident?
I am, absolutely.
Tell me, Bob, when you went around and you spoke with voters, what were some of the major issues that would come up, no matter who you spoke to?
Well, you know, the first thing on everyone's mind is, you know, where are we with our fiscal responsibility here in the state? People were very concerned about taxes, concerned about the talk about tolls. So they felt as though that, you know, we've taxed enough, and we've got to find another way to create revenue. And that obviously would be to grow out of this issue that we have. So we need to bring more economic development to Connecticut and certainly to Branford.
Now, when you heard from voters, was there anything that surprised you in terms of their concerns?
No, each one of them had just about the same concern on looking at where the economy was going, and certainly the deficit of $4.2 billion that we currently have. So they're very interested in how to get that worked out, how to keep their kids here in Connecticut and not have them move out. And our seniors are very concerned about being taxed, and they want to stay in their homes, and we're going to fix that for them.
What's your sense with people? Are they, with their concerns, are they worried? Are they scared? Are they hopeful?
Well, I think a lot of folks are extremely concerned, and they're worried. So, you know, if you have a financial issue in your home, you're always worried. And that's what we have here in the state. So we need to make everyone feel much better.
Now, is there anything special you did to make sure that everybody got out? Because certainly every vote does.
Knocked on a lot of doors this weekend and made lots of phone calls. And I really like to thank all the voters who did come out for us, actually on both sides, because this is a very important election. So we did our best, and I think we put it all out there on both the Democrat and Republican side, absolutely.
And you've said from the start that your message is one of unifying instead of dividing, and why is that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what needs to happen in the state right now is that everyone works together. We just don't have that bipartisanship going on in Hartford, and for us to get out of the situation that we're currently in, that has to happen. And if I get to Hartford, I will certainly do that.
Do you have ideas of how to do that? Because it can be at times a difficult political climate.
Well, listen, you know, you just got to continue to reach across the aisle. You know, there's a way that, you know, as you negotiate, everything's a negotiation. So obviously, you're not going to get anywhere if you can't do that. So both sides have to work together.
Mm-hmm. And compromise.
Absolutely,
and,
to get this done.
Get it done.
Right, absolutely.
Well, listen, Bob, good luck tonight, and we'll be talking to you later.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And back to the studio. This is Carla Augustin for BCTV.
Thank you very much, Carla. We appreciate that. We'll be back to Republican headquarters with more updates in just a moment. It was interesting. I was looking at Lonnie Reid's head, and it was tilting up and down because she obviously was in the thick of it in Hartford, and you did have to reach over the aisle, and there's a lot of that goes on. Tell us about it, from the front lines.
It's very interesting, and I have to say, and I was a journalist many years ago, and I covered Albany and Trenton and Tallahassee and Hartford as well, and New York was just wild. And so I was used to a lot more raucous behavior in terms of people interacting, and people are really quite civilized at the Capitol. I mean, they can get in, they do their press conferences, and they really go out, but essentially, we talk, and we all know people on either side of the aisle whom we can work with. You know, when you kind of look over and go, listen, can we solve this? Can we start solving this now?
Right.
We actually, and I have to say I take credit for some of it. I had to fight with my own leadership. We actually put out 2 bipartisan budgets in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
2 bipartisan budgets.
Yes.
And actually Representative Candelora from North, a whole bunch of us who were we consider ourselves the shoreline delegation, and we really worked together to make that happen. And we refused to do a budget that didn't take all of that into account. I mean, the idea that we're going to start really dealing with the challenges that we have and try to get it through by just a few votes, and it's not going to start unwinding and unraveling right away. That's an absurd way of thinking. And when you look at states that have had these challenges, and I've visited them and talked to those legislators, they say they couldn't have done it without a bipartisan budget.
Absolutely.
Could not have done it. So it's really important to have, and Robin Comey says the same thing as Bob. So we have 2 candidates who are both saying,
both good ones.
We need to reach across the aisle, we need to work together, we need to fix it and stop blaming each other.
Absolutely. It must have been a hard decision. We want to thank you for your service. I mean, you're tremendous for the state of Connecticut.
10 years.
But it must have been very hard.
Oh, thank you. When we worked together on the RTM.
That's true.
I know.
It must have been hard to make the decision to not run again?
Yeah.
After all the time put in?
It was hard, but I had said at the outset, I've had other careers, that I was not going to be a career politician. And, I think that it's important, and not for everybody, and some people, I mean, that's the thing that they want to do, for the long term. But I really think that to bring in fresh ideas and to have, I had my own business, and bringing all of that was really important, and I realized that there are other certain aspects of my life. Of course, we were in session nonstop. So I actually have 2 new grandbabies that I have not met yet. We had to cancel trips because suddenly we were called into session.
Yeah.
And they're all coming for Thanksgiving, but they live in places like London and Alaska.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I just started looking at all the things I want to do, and with my family, and also other aspects of my life I want to pursue. Right. And then when I realized that, that Robin was going to run and Bob was going to run, that we were going to have talented people.
That's true.
I felt that the time was right to do it. But it is hard. I love this job, and I'll still be the state rep until January 9th, and I work every day with constituents, helping them solve problems. And it's a real joy.
Absolutely.
It's a real joy and an honor.
And Ted Kennedy Jr. also deciding not to run this year as well.
Yes. Well, he's been named the head of the National Association for People with Disabilities. And, it is a real passion of his, and he really feels that, there are things that he can do to really, protect and expand the rights for that constituency that he really needs more time to do. So.
And then we've got a governor's race going on in this Constitution state of ours, Bob Stefanowski and Ned Lamont. Any thoughts on what's happening there? They said it's tight.
It seems, Jim, really tight. And, Stefanowski is really like a Trump-type person because, first of all, he didn't have to seek it. He's got his own income. He has his income last year, I saw in the current, I think, it's about $10 million. And
a year.
And that's like Trump. I mean, they both sought these positions because they both thought that they, could help turn around both the United States and this state. And the other thing with Stefanowski is that, he's experienced, he's had corporate jobs, and he also, since he paid for his whole campaign, he put in over $3 million so far. I mean, if you look at Stefanowski, there's no special interest that he's beholden to. Right. He also hasn't said really what he's going to do besides eliminate the income tax over 8 years. So, if we have Stefanowski as the next one, it's going to be very interesting to see what he does to cut this, to try to cut the spending.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. And then actually, Ned Lamont also is self-funding in many,
he's self-funded
and
as
it's
well.
Also a person who's he's had his own business, and I think he's teaching now.
Yes.
But he's also a person that didn't need to do it.
It's true.
And
true.
wanted to step up and get engaged. So
yes.
I always find. it's so interesting. I was there when Governor Malloy first arrived, and Governor Malloy, I mean, he's been demonized now, but Governor Malloy had a lot of really good ideas, and he'd been mayor of Stanford, and he had really done remarkable things in Stanford, but he had never worked with a legislature before, and you know, sort of just watch how leaders adjust to the new reality and how they handle it, and how you know, if they can bring people together to get things done. So it'll be interesting, no matter who wins, to kind of watch that.
You saw that contrast because the first 2 years you were up there, you had to work with Jody Rell, right? And
exactly.
Then in came Dan Malone.
Yeah, and I worked very well with him. I mean, we created an energy agency. We did not have an energy agency in the state, and I was chairman of the energy committee.
We
and
have Zach Turner waiting in the wings there
okay.
with the person that's running for your seat,
Robin
Comey, at Democratic headquarters. Again, Zachary Turner with Robin Comey, and again, she's running for Lonnie's seat, and they are live for BCTV.
Hi, I'm Zach Turner with BCTV. I'm joined here by Robin Comey. So, Robin, tell me, how has your campaign been so far?
Hi, Zach. The campaign's been great. I actually love campaigning. I've had a great time. I think everybody has come together very strong. I think that we're very organized, and it's by no accident that we have some great leadership here in town, and making sure that all our bases are covered, and it was a classic textbook campaign.
Awesome. That's so good to hear. So, what has been the most exciting part of this campaign for you?
The most exciting part is really twofold. First of all, it's getting to know all the folks that have done so much for the Branford Democrats, and for this campaign, for my campaign and Christine's campaign. And then I love just meeting people and talking to people, going door to door. Calling folks, the stories that I hear, the people that I get to know in the community. It's always been something that I have enjoyed doing anyways through my work and the outreach work that I've done in town, but having a sole purpose to outreach and a reason to outreach to people and to go door to door has been wonderfully rewarding.
That's amazing, and it's a very special thing to meet new people. Speaking of outreach, how has been the support in the community for the town of Branford, and what are the issues they care most about?
Well, I mean, Branford's a great community. I've lived here for about 25 years, and I think that it's pretty much, a lot of the concerns are fairly the same across the whole community. You know, at times it varies, so when you're closer to the shoreline and then you're hearing a little bit of different stories from folks, and but people love good education, they love our quality of life, they love our town centers, they like our businesses, they like one another. I mean, everybody's really, everybody's very compassionate and caring for one another, and I think that they'll really they bend over backwards for each other, and so they want our community to be strong. They want strong leadership, and I'm hoping that I will be the choice to make that happen tonight.
Sounds like a very special atmosphere. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Have a good night.
This has been Zach Turner with BCTV.
Zach, thank you for your coverage there, and we'll be back to you in just a moment. And of course, Lonnie, Robin is running to fill your seat and fill your shoes, and I know you're very pleased and comfortable with her as the choice, right?
I am. You know, I think we both, and I have to say Bob as well, I mean, we want people who really know this community, and Robin knows this community, and she's, you know, there, and I teased her when she began the race that she's very reluctant to self-promote, like a lot of people are. A lot of people really work and help get things done. And she's helped make so many projects in this town happen. She's helped raise money. She's pulled coalitions together.
Right.
The Early Childhood Collaborative. She's the CEO.
She's the CEO of that, and then and she really was a force to help us really get better legislation and better training for teachers and actually bus drivers for children with allergies, with life-threatening allergies, so that everybody knows how to use an EpiPen, and everybody can, you know, so that you expand the ability to protect children. And she's done a lot of things like that, and she's a very hard worker. And so I feel very, very good about Robin.
She's on the RTM.
And she's on the RTM.
Yeah.
Exactly.
She's doing a great job.
Talking about the divisiveness, too, that's occurred in our country and trying to bring everybody together, that is on the minds of voters locally, regionally, and nationally as well. And a lot of what's going to happen tonight, I think, is probably a result of the feelings about all that. We do need to really all come together regardless of, what your perspective is, right?
Yes, absolutely. We should. I mean, I don't know who's at fault. Some people blame Trump. Some people blame the media, the New York Times. The New York Times seems to be on a jag, anti-Trump all the time. I think if that paper was to return to a more, down-the-middle approach, all the other news medias would follow suit. You have to remember that, right, all the NBC Nightly News, all the big newscasts at night, they usually use the front page of the New York Times, for the stories. And so, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. But yes, to answer your question, Jim, yes, that's what we need, back together.
But, I have to say, I don't think President Trump was the creator of the situation. He's really a disruptor. And so this was brewing. There's been a lot of divisive. And we see it, when you look at the map, and the red states and the blue states and the purple states, and it's been going on for several years, and it's really the apotheosis is now. It's really exploded, and we're all seeing it. But we really have, and I always say that as a Democrat, that we've forgotten some of our own base. In an energy context, it's. Okay, we don't want coal anymore, and renewables. That's smart policy, but you have to find a lane for people who've made a living mining coal for generations to move forward and raise their families too, and find pride, because those are. So we've done that with so many, and a lot of that has to do with robotics and global, the whole. Global atmosphere of how things are manufactured and how many people it takes now, very few comparatively. And we have to really revisit that and rethink that. But we have to also understand that people are getting kicked to the curb and they're feeling forgotten. Like, thank you for your service. We're moving on, and leaving people behind. And we have to really dig deep and figure out a new way forward.
And even in our state alone, I mean, there's just so many things that are on the table. Minimum wage, and I just wrote a few of the things down. I could fill pages and pages of what the discussion's about. Gun laws, marijuana, tolls, taxes, being more welcoming to businesses.
Pay equity.
Regulations, the environment. I mean, it's just about everything that you can think of that people are discussing now out there on the streets, right?
I think, yes, Jim, I think we need more compassion. And, to me anyway, with all of these channels, on all the time, MSNBC, Fox News,
the 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's a sport, it's another form of sport. People are either on one team or the other, and they root, and sometimes it gets a little bit heated.
I'll tell our kids when they'll call from the various places they live in, my stepdaughter will be very upset. And I said, have you been listening to the news again? You need to walk away.
Take a break.
Walk away, go outside, look at the trees, go running.
Take a deep
breath.
Really, separate yourself from the 24/7.
Because the overload can be.
It really gets people so depressed.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk about the race with Adam Greenberg and Christine Cohen as well.
Okay.
Well, we got some numbers coming in too.
We do.
Robin Comey, 858.
Third district.
Robert Imperato,
Oh, in the third district.
478.
Okay, well that's her district, and she represents that district on the RTM.
Yeah.
So.
Short Beach. Yep.
Yeah.
And
There's the fourth
district. That's
1291 Comey and Imperato.
Okay,
1076.
that's good. I mean, for Robin, that's really good. And these are preliminary.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are unofficial, right? Coming in.
Okay, 5th
Yes,
district.
there's 5th, 1186 Comey and Imperato,
And the 5th district.
Indian Neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of independents in that district,
Right.
and so it's always important to see what they're doing and how they're choosing.
So we started talking about Adam Greenberg and Christine Cohen in that race. Any thoughts on that in the 12th?
Well, I mean, to me, it kind of boiled down towards the end, it was tolls and spending and taxes. I mean, that's basically, those were the issues. As far as Cohen was against, no, I'm sorry, no. the point I was making is that as far as Adam Greenberg was against the tolls, supposedly Cohen was for them, or she didn't mind them. She was proposing new programs and expansion of programs, which is more spending, and the comment from Greenberg was he was against it. But they're both good people, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think they're known in their respective, but they're not, they're not center stage people yet.
Right.
And so you've got two fresh faces, and both have wonderful families, and both have businesses, and and both were not experienced politicians, so they were also learning how to do that.
Exactly,
and
right.
so it's been a real learning experience for both of them. It'll be very interesting to see. I mean, when you look at the district, it's, Branford is really the most Democratic part of the district, and but Christine is on the Board of Ed in Guilford, and then has a business, the Cohen's Bagels
right.
in Madison, and is very well known, involved in fundraising for Smilo and all of those things. So we've seen her there, and then Adam, of course, was
Greenberg.
He was a professional baseball player.
That was an incredible story that happened with him. Right, his first pitch for the Chicago Cubs.
Then he got hit.
He was hit, and then he was down, but he worked his way back. He went back to the minors, and then at the very end of his career, he signed a contract for the Miami team for one day,
Marlins,
and he was in for.
They gave him a shot.
Yeah, they gave him
wonderful.
a shot. At the very end. So I mean, it's an incredible comeback that he made it, and and he speaks about it, and he's a great guy.
There's also things out there that the viewers might not know. Some opportunities to amend the state constitution itself, changes to ensure transportation revenues are spent on transportation projects, and also placing limits on the. Well, it looks like I guess when you're trying to attempt to transfer or sell state-owned property to a non-state entity, limits on the General Assembly when you're doing that?
Well, the piece I saw, Jim, about that was there's some kind of a food market up in Hartford, and this just happened. It's like a 35-acre parcel the state owns, and they transferred it, I guess, without a public hearing to, I don't know, ACES or some organization up there, and so there was a lot of outcry. But this stuff has been going on. Is that true, Lonnie?
It's actually there was a swap in Haddam, a beautiful river swap, and apparently a hotel wanted to build there that was state land, and so they swapped and traded it for some woods. And and so that really sent off alarms. Wait a minute, we have set aside, and the family that gave that piece of land on the river expected it to be, conserved in perpetuity. So particularly when you get into a budget situation like we are now, and we have assets, and you get concerned about what's going to be sold or traded in order to make money. We're going to sell Hammonasset. Or are we going to sell some? We have some of the most beautiful parks in the world.
Yes,
some of the most beautiful parks. And so the concern is that we really should have a system. We need public hearings. We need involvement. We need to really have public engagement.
It's right. It's the public's land.
Right. It's a public land, but as you teed it up, the reality was there were swaps going on with public land, and there was very little being said or done about it.
Exactly.
So now we have the referendum, and we're hoping that everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you guys feel about tolls?
Well, the tolls. I mean, this is what I read. First of all, the tolls. You have to think of it this way. There was a study done by the Yankee Institute. And they say that what you'd have to put in the state, you'd have to build 72 tolling gantries, they call it, all around the state. And that it would cost, this is what the Yankee Institute, $157 million to put them all up. And it would cost to operate them, even if it's an electronic system, the company that's going to run that for the state would charge $400,000 a day to run it. And then you'd have to hire people, right? Because if they don't have Easy Pass, then the camera takes a picture of the license plate and they get an invoice or the bill in the mail. So you have to hire people to to do all that, and that's more jobs and more pensions, and so and then the way it was financed, right? It was what happened. My understanding, correct me, Lonnie, if I'm wrong, but what happened was Governor Malloy went to the bonding commission and they approved the spending of a study of $10 million, and it's supposed to go through the legislature, so it could still be stopped. But I mean, I'm opposed to tolls because it seems like it's a kind of a boondoggle. It's not going to really raise much money. It's going to be taken up in costs, So, what are your thoughts?
So, all of our contiguous states have tolls. And anybody who has an easy pass is paying for everybody else's state, and the trucks that are coming through here are not paying tolls, and they're tearing up our roads. So I have an issue with that. But I really hate these one-off shoot-from-the-hip fixes. We need a comprehensive approach to dealing with our issues, to create a whole restructuring approach that makes sense. And if tolls could fit into that in a rational way, the boothless tolls, the high technology tolls, and even put chips in so that in-state residents, could realize a benefit so they wouldn't be paying what the pass-through traffic is paying and that kind of thing. And that it was, when I talked to the state of New Jersey, they are talking about collateralizing these assets, which makes it a much stronger state when you go to the bond market. So they're going to collateralize tolls. And you look at it, if we did that and we did it in a comprehensive plan that made sense, and we protected our own people, if you collateralize tolls and you collateralize things like the lottery and you collateralize some things like that, and so we got benefit from those assets when you went to the market. That could be valuable. But to just do it shoot from the hip without really understanding what we're talking about and what's going to suffer, it all has to be pulled together intelligently.
Absolutely. No, that's good.
Big discussion also on raising the minimum wage. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, it's 10.10 in this state. I believe that in the country, though, it's $7.50 or something like that. So, I mean, currently we're paying more, but both Comey and Cohen, that they both favor 15, as well as I don't know, some other people too that are in, that are seeking office. But to me, it's too high because it puts people out of work. I mean, if it's too much, if it costs the employer too much, they aren't going to hire. I mean, I can take an example. If you look at the McDonald's, they're putting in all these, ordering kiosks. The customer goes in and orders themselves, and it's to cut their labor cost. I mean, so I don't think it increases jobs.
So philosophically, I'm for the minimum wage and voted to raise it to what it is now and incrementally. But we had to build in a lot of fail-safes for things like the why. For nonprofits, for businesses that have fewer than 50 people. I mean, there were a whole bunch of, and restaurants, the way so many people work part-time for restaurants, and that was an issue. And so I think that's why, as laudable as it is, it has not gone through, yet, the $15 minimum wage. But I really think, I always remember I didn't get a master's degree in business, but I did go to Columbia when I was starting my own business and took some of those, economic courses and stuff. And they reminded us about Henry Ford when he started producing cars, and he raised the salaries of his production people, not only to keep them because he had trained them and now new competitors were coming online, but so that they could buy the products they were manufacturing. Right. And when you look at companies that are really far-sighted, that's how they operate.
That's how they
operate. They pay their people to keep them and to get them excited about what they're doing, and so that they can buy the products that they're manufacturing. So I think we really need to revisit all of that. And I mean, the disparity that we have of the haves and the have-nots is huge, and we've got people who don't have a lot who are working very, very hard. We have a service economy now, so we really, really have to, dig deep.
That's right.
Figure that
Absolutely.
out.
Well, somebody we do have is Carla Augustin, and she's at Republican headquarters right now with Jamie Cosgrove. Carla? It's all yours.
Well, it's name recognition. Part of that, a large part of this is name recognition.
Hi, we're back, and certainly pins and needles going on here. As the numbers start to come in, I'm with First Selectman Jamie Cosgrove. And do you have any feelings about tonight?
Well, thanks for being here tonight. And, I think there's, on both sides, there's a lot of energy, and there's been a high turnout. We're seeing that across the polls. However, by the results that have been coming in so far, it does look like the Democrats were a little bit more successful in getting numbers to the polls so far. But we have a couple more districts to still come in, and optimistic to see what happens with those last few districts.
So we really don't know until the final numbers do come in?
I mean, again, the turnout was very high, across all districts, and I believe across the state from all the reports that I've been getting. Even Election Day registration at Town Hall, just witnessing the amount of people coming in and out throughout the day into the evening. There was a lot of people just registering today and voting. So it looks like from the numbers that came in that there was higher turnout on both Democrats and Republicans. However, it looks like the Democrats probably had greater turnout going forward with the numbers that we have so far.
Well, it does go to show that every vote counts, and it seems like this election that people realized that and got themselves out.
Yeah, I think there was, different motivating factors for this election. I think the national politics played a lot to do with it, or a large part in the turnout. Especially, just like I said, coming up to the last day, people registering to vote. So I think that influenced quite a bit the turnout. You'd like to see that turnout every election, to be quite honest. Maybe not the same results, but you'd like to see people participating. I think the priority really for this election ought to be, stabilizing our state, and that, as we know, the state is in fiscal crisis right now, and it has been for a couple of years. So given the fact that we didn't see the same turnout the last state election, it seems like this surpassed, the last state election. I feel that it's probably more, the national politics influencing the increase in turnout today.
So what do you find in Branford? I mean, across party lines when you speak with voters, is the fiscal situation with the state some of their main concerns, or what are some of their major issues that they're concerned about?
Well, certainly the economy as a whole. Although we hear reports that the state economy is, national economy is doing fine and improving, but the state, we know it hasn't been stagnant for a number of years. So certainly, I think everybody is concerned about that. However, I do think, again, as I mentioned, I think given the increased turnout, unfortunately, it wasn't really centered around the state fiscal crisis. I think it was national politics influenced that. But really, this, as I said, for a number of years, and the state, what's happening up at the state is going to really have a direct impact with all the taxpayers, and we have to address this sooner than later. We're at a point now where it needs to be addressed. Branford has done a pretty good job the last few years insulating the local taxpayers, the property taxpayers through the crisis up at the state, but eventually it's going to, if we keep going down the way we're going, it's going to be more difficult task. Yes, yeah, and that's what concerns me the most, and I think it should concern everybody out there. Some of the policies that are being proposed as solutions really are to detriment to the towns like Branford and similar towns, and that would result in a direct tax impact. that's where I thought Bob. I feel he's the strongest of the candidates. He's just from working with him for over the years. Plus, he has a unique perspective, serving both on the RTM in Branford as well as the Board of Finance. So he really sees not only what it takes to on the expense side in paying for the services and maintaining services, but he also understands the revenue end part of it, and what happens up at the state will ultimately impact the revenue end of it. And that's why I felt both candidates ran a clean campaign, Comey and Imperato. That's where I felt that Bob was the stronger of the candidates. But as we go forward, as I worked in the past, we'll continue to work to keep Branford.
Do what's best for the residents of Branford. And Bob has said that his message was one of unifying. How important is that on the at your town level?
Yeah, it's very important now at a town level. I think we need more of that on the state and national level, quite honestly. That's we hear a lot of people saying that they work across party lines, but actions are stronger than words, right? So hopefully we see more of that as we the next couple of years. But yes, that's something that Bob was working along with him last few years. He's demonstrated that in his role both on RTM and Board of Finance. So he was somebody that would truly work across party lines and to come with the best solution.
Okay, well, thank you, Jamie. I really appreciate you speaking with us and taking the time. This is Carla Augustin from BCTV.
Carla, thank you very much. This is Jim Masters here, BCTV. We're live on election night 2018, joined by my colleagues, the Democratic analyst, that is Lonnie Reid, and Republican is Frank Twohill. A lot going on tonight. I just want to give people an update that in the 1st District, there was a power outage, and they're actually hand counting all the votes. And in the 6th District, there was a broken machine. So there's a lot going on, but we do have a result here. Associated Press is reporting, as well as the Branford Patch, that Chris Murphy has been reelected here in Connecticut, the state senator, for a 2nd term. Any comments on that?
Well, Chris, if you look at his schedule, if you will, or his past, it was interesting. First, he started 2 terms in the state House of Representatives. Then he moved up 2 terms in the state Senate. Then he moved up 2 terms to the House down in Washington, and so now we just won tonight 2 terms down in the U.S. Senate. So.
I don't think it's a huge shocker.
Yeah. But
he's a force of nature.
But the person that he ran against, Corey, was very interesting. As Jim said during our break, he started out owning a sports bar up in Manchester.
An Irish pub in Hartford,
Hartford, which is still operating, and he also owns this company that cleans the windows on the Hartford skyscrapers.
Yeah, window wash for years, the skyscrapers.
I thought he presented himself very well.
Yeah,
whenever, I've not met him personally, but I saw his commercials, I thought he spoke well, and I thought he made really excellent points, and he did well.
And of course, what I said about the power outage at the 1st and the broken machine at the 6th, you just never know on election night. Anything can happen, right?
Well, and in New Haven, so many people showed up to register, same-day registration, and they didn't have enough people to process them. So that was, I'm not quite sure what was, because if you weren't registered by 8 o'clock, you could not vote. And they had lines and lines and lines of people. So that's potentially something we really should look at, because that's, that's not a good thing.
No, that's true.
That's something you should be prepared for.
Absolutely.
Particularly given the, the incredible interest and enthusiasm for this particular election.
Midterms. And it seems like I've been taking notes a little bit on the theme that we're hearing from some of the folks that they've been talking about at Democratic and Republican headquarters, and you're hearing a lot the concern with the economy, the economic situation within the state of Connecticut. You're hearing it, health care, all these other things are huge, but it seems like the economy is still the thing that is number one. And you would agree, because you were there, you saw it on the front lines, right?
It is. And the longer I was there, the more, I joined the Finance Committee. I think had been there 2 terms, and I said, I really need to be on the Finance Committee because it's so frustrating when the budgets weren't balanced.
Right.
There were pretend balances, and then you would see them fall out of whack because of the reality that people, they had not paid for years, long before Governor Malloy. In fact, Governor Malloy was the first to pay into the pensions and benefits.
That's true.
For years and years and years.
Yep.
Governors of both parties, and quite frankly, the labor leaders. I mean, that was, they were coming up with deals, and then the legislature blessed them because we're not engaged in actually negotiating the contracts. And this went on year after year after year. And somebody had told me that after the income tax was first passed, there was a $2 billion surplus that could have gone into helping pay down those pensions. And what happened was they created more line items in the budget, and everybody got a little something, something, and to take home. Yeah. And then people were sent checks back for whatever, $50, $80 or something.
Right.
I mean, we had for a moment some actual money that could. So that to me is financial mismanagement. And the more you see that, the more frustrated you get because there's so many needs and there's so many important things that we're trying to do, and so many good people and so many good programs and so many well-managed, as I said earlier, communities like ours. And we keep having to suffer because we can't get that together. The pensions were designed for people to, sort of join the greater good and move upstairs and leave us all die at 75.
Right.
And now people are getting new knees at 89.
Yeah, living low.
So,
Right.
and I keep saying, I told some of the insurance CEOs, are we not the insurance state? Was no one looking at actuarial tables? How is that possible that can go on year after year after year, no matter who was in charge, Republicans or Democrats, and yet it did. And here's where we are.
And it built up to.
Here's where we are. If we don't deal with it, I mean, and everybody, I think people are finally getting it. That's foundational. We can't do anything until we solve that problem.
Well, a couple of things about economics. I think that the state owes so much money. Every taxpayer owes $54,000. That's how much the state owes in toto. The other thing is that our state used to have the best growing economy in the nation until we got the state income tax in that was 1991. And the other thing is home prices are down now throughout the state about 25%. They haven't recovered in the last 8 or 9 or 10, 12 years, So I think we have to reduce the tax burden. And so if Stefanowski gets in, I don't know as to what he's going to cut or as to what he's going to do. I mean, you can encourage growth, which also creates more income, to the state in taxes. So possibly, they could do that, but something, as Representative Reid just said, something's got to be done.
You can't do anything without volunteers, of course, and volunteers are like the name of the game, and they're such a powerful and important resource with anything in life. We're going to go to Zachary Turner. He's at Democratic headquarters. Stephanie Farber, longstanding volunteer for Democratic Committee. Zachary, take it away.
Hello, I'm Zach Turner with BCTV here. I'm joined by Stephanie Farber, a volunteer for the campaign here at the Democratic headquarters. So Stephanie, tell me, what was your most enjoyable part of campaigning with this campaign here?
Well, one of the things I did this year was to recruit volunteers to help both Robin and Christine. And one of the most exciting things was to see young people come out. We had high school students here every weekend, canvassing, getting other high school kids involved. They wrote postcards. They were just amazing. So it's very good to see the next generation coming up behind us and getting involved in politics.
Most definitely.
Democratic politics.
Ah. Yeah, I'm very, very fond of the young generation getting involved here. So what drove you to become a volunteer with this campaign?
Well, I've been very active in Democratic politics actually for quite a while, but this year was extraordinary because we're living in the after-Trump world, and it's very terrifying, especially for women. And many of the volunteers that I recruited and that you could probably see here in the headquarters are women. And after the Kavanaugh hearings, they just came out in droves.
Yeah.
We just had to put out a Gmail or a Facebook page, and people just signed up. Women signed up. And
That's
it was
amazing.
very exciting.
Most definitely. One thing I was curious about is, what is your favorite issue that the candidates have talked about here?
Well, there are so many. Now, being, as you can see, an older citizen, I'm concerned that we may lose, health care benefits. And a lot of the women and door knocks, people came to the doors and they were concerned about losing coverage for pre-existing illnesses. I have a son with a pre-existing illness, and I'm worried about his coverage as he grows up. So that's a big issue for me.
Most definitely, and I hope he gets the care he needs. Thank you so much for your time, Robin. Or sorry, Stephanie.
Thanks, Zach.
This has been Zach Turner with BCTV.
Zach, thank you very much. Again, it's really nice to see Stephanie's efforts there, and we have volunteers. They really are, the grassroots of the whole thing.
And Stephanie's a pro. And Stephanie was one of the people who organized what's called the Hilltop Brigade, which was volunteers from all over the state to help put people like Chris Murphy and Jim Hines and Joe Courtney.
Yeah.
I think when he first ran, he won by something like 80 votes. And part of that was that they created a brigade of volunteers to go knock on doors. And it was really, really effective. So she's one of our people. She lives in Branford, and she just constantly is coming.
Right?
Penny Bellamy and a whole bunch of a whole bunch of folks. So
I think Zach had mentioned something too when he was talking to Stephanie, in terms of the younger people coming out, millennials. Did you find that? Did you find more younger people wanting to partake in this particular election?
Well, at the polls this morning, when I stood at First District, the high school, from 6 to 8 a.m., I did see some going by, and I thought to myself, gee, I bet you this is their first election that they're going to, and they must be thrilled. And so it was good to see. It's important for all ages to be involved, right? It's a participatory democracy. Everybody is supposed to, be up on the issues and the candidates, and they're supposed to vote. The most important thing you do in the country, in the state, in your town, you pay your taxes, so you should also vote. It's your right. It's your ownership of your town.
Yeah.
So
when I ran last time, I had so many young people from Branford High School who really wanted to get engaged, and a lot of it had to do with they've recognized this is their future. This is their future. Among the drivers, the high cost of getting an education, of the debt that you have to take on to get a college degree.
Right.
It's astronomical, and you graduate and you owe,
doesn't go away.
$250,000 or whatever, and so that totally curbs your ability to pursue your dreams because you're trying to pay that off and and enjoy your life and discover your talents.
Right.
You'll take a job that pays more because you can't pursue the thing that you really want to do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, they see the impact it has on their families.
Exactly,
that their parents are taking out second mortgages, and it really is a paralyzing situation that we have to address. So that's one of the things that they get engaged in, and the environment. They're very concerned about rising seas and climate change, and they're wonderful. And so the Branford High School kids, in the young Congress that they have there, that a lot of the young people get involved, the student Congress, they're really talented, and they're so eager to be a part of the process.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Momentarily, we're going to be going out live on location again, so stay tuned. You are watching BCTV Live coverage. Jim Masters here with Lonnie Reid and Frank Twohill, bringing you the latest results as they're coming in. We just wanted to make mention again that there was a power outage in the first, so they're counting by hand the tally, the votes, and there was a broken machine in the 6th, so taking just a little longer there. We were talking, I'm heading off to a TV shoot this coming weekend in Houston to a biological company that checks our food, our water, our air, medical devices, medicines, things of that nature. Attracting those kinds of businesses, Lonnie and Frank, is very important, right? Some of those high-tech companies like the biological companies, things of that nature, to our state.
Well, one of the important things as a state is to know your lane, the things you're good at. And manufacturing, and Frank was speaking earlier, and we have an incredible historical history of invention, of manufacturing, and our intellectual capital that we have in the state is remarkable. That's the thing that it's upsetting when we put ourselves down so much because we have problems. Because we have talent, we have assets, and we have a history, an historical track record of being able to do this. So we've brought a lot of biotech into Branford.
Into Branford, we have
Frank. We have some breaking news. Just about to make an acceptance speech.
You see? Cool.
So thank you very much. I want to thank everyone here tonight. Of course, my husband Dave, and my kids Maddie and Michael, and Sue. Thank you. Everybody's been working really hard, and my family at home has been working the hardest, and there's my phone ringing in the back. I want to thank my campaign manager, Alex. And all the members of my team. Anthony, where's Anthony? Anthony's back there. Hi, Anthony. Thank you. Linda Malo, of which none of this would be possible without. And Marty, Chris. I think I have several Chris's on that have been helping me. Stephanie, Tori, Owen, and Rita, Kathy, Rick, everybody. Thank you. And then, of course, if it wasn't for Matt and the entire House Democratic team that helped me with this as well. My Short Beach moms and my friends that really gave me the courage to run. You should have seen their faces when I told them that I wanted to run. They were like, "Are you sure?" To Sean and Christine, who have been compatriots in this crazy race, to Lonnie and Ted, and I'm especially just thankful for the hundreds of volunteers that show up at headquarters to call people, to write notes, to reach out to our voters. They canvass in the rain, in the not rain, in the heat, and they also bring lots of baked goods. So I'll be hitting the gym shortly. Branford was also the home, the campaign headquarters to Fight Back Connecticut, which has been a great resource for us to sort of become a lively campaign headquarters, and Ned's campaign. And they too have been a family to us, to connect with dozens and dozens of more people that we didn't even know lived in this community, that cared about Democrats and cared about making a difference in their community this year. All of those making the Democratic Party here in Branford so much stronger that we're really poised to do great things, I think, in the future. So I kind of just want to run through this, but you guys have all worked so hard. We did this together. We knew what was at stake here, and all of you stepped up in a coordinated and organized manner. That is no mistake. That was, it did not happen by accident or organically. All of these people knew exactly what they were doing at all times and made this happen. So we spoke with more than 10,000 people in this in the past few weeks. We've knocked doors, we've made calls, and we've talked to voters during some of the most difficult and divisive times that our state and our country is facing. And that's tough, and that takes bravery, and that takes strength, and that takes some really fantastic people that are committed to our values and what we're going to do together in the future. And we're doing this for the 95-year-old, for the guy that was taking care of his 95-year-old mother and in her final years, and needed the resources financial resources. She had to hire a lawyer to ensure that they had the means to care for her. We're doing this for the mother who knew that this was so important. She showed up here several times a week with her transgender daughter and made sure that she made the calls because she knew it was at stake. And we're doing this for the women and the men that I have met in supportive housing down on Briarwood Lane and other places in our community who are doing very well because they're having their mental health needs and their services being met by wonderful organizations in town such as BH Care. And we're doing this for the 96-year-old World War II veteran I met from District 5 who told me that this was no longer the country that he thought he had fought for. So I'm thrilled to represent Branford. I'm going to lead on issues such as affordable health care, ensuring cradle-to-career educations, improving our long-term senior care for families and give them options, and building a strong economy that works for the middle class in this state. So thank you again. I'm beyond proud. And we're going to win more elections in the future. I'm convinced of that. There is no doubt on that. So let's relax. Let's have a great time and celebrate. Thank you.
There we offer our congratulations to Robin Comey. Just a little technical issues there with the audio, because again, you know, when there's the fanfare and all the clapping, it gets a little loud there as well, but it's understandable too. And Lonnie, you've been there, you've known, you've experienced the jubilation and the feeling of the win. How does it feel to see now Robin winning tonight? You know, I'm really, really happy. Robin is a person, as I said earlier, she really knows this community and she cares about it deeply. That's authentic, sincere stuff. Yeah. And she is a really, really hard worker, and if she doesn't understand something, she'll dive in and learn about it, you know. So I think she's just going to be a wonderful representative for the 102nd District. And I'm thrilled for her and for her family and for all of the volunteers. There were so many, as was said earlier, women who stepped up, who just said, we don't want to sit this one out. Right. What can we do? Right, Tell us what we can do. So they really created quite an authentic get out the vote, meet the people. Yeah. Real grassroots effort. And it worked. So for people watching who are not familiar with how transitions and things of that work, you now work with her to make it a seamless transition for when you move on in January? We've talked about it already, and I told her whatever you need, you know, I'll certainly be helpful. And I'm not, I said to somebody the other day, I'm not like an old dog who's going under the house to die. I have a lot of other things going on in my life, and I'm going to stay engaged in the things that I really care about and the work that I've done. You know, I want to be helpful going forward. And Robin has, you know, she has her own themes and her own things that she's involved in. Concession speech, Robert Imperato, and we're going to go to Carla Augustin at the headquarters live right now on BCTV. Carla.
Hi, I'm here with Bob Imperato. The results have come in, and what are your feelings?
Well, certainly they're disappointing results, but you know, we ran a great race, and I want to congratulate Robin Comey. She did a fantastic job getting out there, and the voters have spoken, and I'd like to congratulate her once again.
And so what's going to be next for you? Are you going to stay in politics?
Well, I'm currently on the Board of Finance here in the town, and I will continue to do that and protect the town, and we'll see where things go from there.
Okay, so what would you like to say to your supporters tonight?
Well, I certainly would like to thank all the voters in Branford for supporting me, and certainly I would like to thank my family, certainly my wife and my children. They were very involved in this campaign, did a great job. And I had many, many folks here walking with me, making phone calls for me. It was just an honor to do this.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, people worked really hard for you.
They sure did. They sure do, and I can't thank them enough. I had a great team here. I had folks that sacrificed their time on the weekends, weeknights, again, phone calls. So it was just an honor to have this opportunity.
Well, thank you, Bob, and thank you for speaking with us.
You're welcome.
I'm Carla Augustin from BCTV.
Thank you very much, Carla. We appreciate that. Jim Masters here at the studio once again with Lonnie Reid and Frank Twohill. And I believe there's going to be some numbers coming in. We're going to take a look at North Branford in just a moment, as soon as those come in. And of course, we're still waiting on updates on Adam Greenberg and Christine Cohen. Governor's race, lots going on tonight. Lots going on. Here's some numbers coming in now from the 86th Rep District, North Branford. Vincent, 3,762. Candelora, 6,515 so far, and those are unofficial.
That could be the total for both voting districts up in North Branford, because it totals about 10,000.
Handful for the Green Party candidate, 24.
So that means
Colin
that Vincent Candelora will stay in for 2 more years.
Well, I think it's also a piece of Guilford. It's a bigger district than just North Branford.
Yes,
so,
that's true.
We should make sure that we know that before. But I mean,
that's true.
As I said earlier, Vin Candelora is one of those people who, I mean, he's part of the Shoreline delegation. He's a dad. He's got a business. He's incredibly popular, and so those look like the kinds of numbers one might expect.
That you'd expect as well.
Also, to the other 2 candidates up in North Branford that are going to win, because they're both running unopposed, both Sean Scanlon and also a probate judge, Frank Forgione.
Absolutely.
But Sean's Guilford.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Excuse me.
Sean Scanlon,
you're right.
Running unopposed as well. We want to welcome the viewers too, because they are watching on Totoka TV as well in North Branford, and we are covered here on Branford on BCTV. We're also streaming live on Facebook. So if you have friends and family around the country and beyond, they could watch us right now live from anywhere just by going to bctv.org and checking out the Facebook page. And of course, we're on Comcast, and we're on Frontier, and we're broadcasting in high definition as well. And of course, we've got the live reports from Democratic and Republican headquarters. Frank?
Jim, I just wanted to mention that, it's true. There were some audio glitches that we just saw when we got the Robin Comey speech. But it sure beats the old days, because when Jim and Lonnie and I started doing these live election shows...
I think we were the original team, like 9-10 years be it's like our anniversary.
It was during the Bronze Age, right?
But the thing that would happen would be that
lighting is everything.
There'd be tapes which would have to be taped, and then they have to bring the tape cartridge.
Yeah, they used to have to rush the tapes over and then ingest them, and then hopefully there would be something on the tape. Right?
I just wanted to say something about Bob Imperato's concession speech. That's how you do it.
Right.
You know, that's how you do it. You run a clean campaign.
Very classic.
And that's what we need to get back. Is civility in this universe that we live in.
Well, this is what we were talking about sort of at the beginning, is a lot of people are voting with that in mind. They're voting on the economy, healthcare, taxes, tolls, all these other different things that are happening locally, regionally, and nationally. But there is this undertone of respect and civility and empathy and camaraderie. Please, let's bring it back. So that's also weighing heavily on some of these results that we're probably seeing locally, regionally, and nationally tonight as well, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
I would hope so. I mean, I think that people are, I'd said when I was campaigning last time, actually when President Trump, not quite president yet, was running, and I was going door to door, and there was just such vitriol and anger. And I remember one woman Representative Reid, you have to come in. I felt like we were going to do therapy. She was so upset, and one of her neighbors had a Trump sticker, and so she was like, can't ever speak to him again. And I looked at her and I said, wait a minute. He has roses, you have roses. He has a cat, you have a cat. His mother lives with him, your mother lives with you. We really need to talk about what we have in common. And have these discussions in a much more civilized way. And this idea that we're just going to go to our corners and not ever speak again. And
exactly.
And that's what's been happening. We all have to fight that.
I think this is one reason why a lot of people will miss you, Lonnie, is because you've always thought that way and you've always projected things that way as far as bringing people together.
That's true.
Whether you're in politics or just in life, that's who Lonnie is. So you will be missed in the world of politics by many people because you made significant contributions.
That's true.
Thank you.
Think back at the time you were on the RTM, Lonnie. It was about 9 o'clock. One night, I remember, and somebody came in. Right, there was that project you stopped that had to deal with Long Island Sound.
Oh, Broadwater.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right. And so this person came in. I just heard the news. Broadwater was stopped.
Yeah, the governor of New York had the final vote on that. So but the first anti-Broadwater bi-state rally was at my house in Branford when I was on the RTM. And Frank, and we put together a bipartisan resolution saying we do not want Broadwater. And we took it from town to town to town to town on both sides of Long Island Sound, and we got everybody, all these towns, to vote that as well. So we actually created a coalition.
A real coalition.
A bipartisan coalition, bipartisan bi-state, to defeat what would have been a floating natural gas plant in the middle of Long Island Sound with a 52-mile pipeline trenching through. It was insane.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Insane. But that started right here in Branford.
Yeah, it's true. It worked out great.
Yeah.
That was your first big project, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But we all did that together. It was. We all saw that was just not going to be a good thing.
It was a must to take care of.
Yeah.
Regulations, of course, too, as far as loosening or tightening of regulations. What do you think about that?
Well, Trump has taken care of, I don't know, I've heard thousands, and that's why there's a lot of growth. So, I don't know whether we still have the same problem here in this state. But we should have as few as possible, because, people don't talk about capitalism, but it's great. It's what caused us to become the richest country in the history of the world, and so you want to keep things streamlined,
The problem with it is, and it's really true, that we need to revisit a lot of not only our regulations, but the bureaucratic hoops that everybody has to jump through to get anything done. But you soon discovered, and I know you've had this experience too, that no, we don't want any government involvement, and then something goes wrong, and the first call you get is from that very same person who didn't want that. How did you let this happen? There should have been a law, and that's what happens. So you got to get common sense, rationality, get rid of the stuff that is just slowing things down and not doing anything beneficial.
That's right.
But also be intelligent about the regulations that you keep, and
you keep those.
And not only have them, but really utilize them, because sometimes we have regulations and no one's doing the.
Enforcement.
The enforcement.
They pick and choose, which is that's not right either. If it's on the books and they're an employee, they should enforce it. That's their job.
We're going to go over to Democratic headquarters with Zachary Turner. We do have Rick Pittman, who is the 12th District Representative, Democratic State Central Committee, and we're going to go to Zach right now. Zach, take it away.
Hello there. I'm Zach Turner here at the Democratic headquarters here in Branford for BCTV. And I'm joined here by Rick Pittman, the representative to State Central. So, Rick, what was your role on Robin's campaign, and what was your favorite part of working with it?
The favorite part was working with everybody else. I know this sounds trite, but I watched the team get pulled together. I watched Robin develop as a candidate, and it's stronger and stronger, and it was just really rewarding to watch. So.
Great, that's amazing. And so, what do you think the results of this election will mean for the Democratic Party at large?
Okay, we were the Democratic Party in the House of Representatives has only a 7-person majority right now. So we're holding on to one of those seats. If we lost 4 of those seats, all of a sudden it would be Republican controlled, which would not be in anybody's best interest. So Robin has held on to one of our seats, and we're hoping we're going to pick up another 7 tonight, or keep the 7 that we have tonight, or pick up more. So.
And a good hope that is. Thank you so much, Rick.
Thank you.
This has been Zach Turner with BCTV.
Zach, thank you very much for that live report. And you were saying that you're figuring that some of those tallies are in the first because of the Robin Comey whim?
Yes, I think we can infer that, Jim. I mean, right? The news is that there was a power blackout in the 1st district, so all the ballots had to be counted by hand. Now, currently, I don't believe the actual figures have come in here yet, so I mean, we haven't seen them. But for Robin Comey to make a speech like that, saying that she won, I mean, they must have the 1st district information by now, I would assume.
Yeah, we're still waiting on some other information as well. They're tallying it. As soon as we get it all, we'll have it for you here live on BCTV. Of course, we were talking a little bit about the importance of the environment, and we are in a coastal town, a seaside town. Protecting the environment is near and dear to all of our hearts here in Branford, right? So going forward, what are some of the things that you feel some of our representatives that are going to be taking office need to do first to help preserve it?
Well, one of the things is to really coordinate. So the town is very much involved in inventorying all of our assets and putting together a plan to deal with what's happening in terms of the rising sea impacts that we're experiencing. This is not happening tomorrow. You can drive on 146 during a high tide and see the road is completely covered in huge places. I mean, it is really impacting people's lives. So the town, along with the state, is working together to create a plan going forward, which will involve, where we develop, who, all of the structures that are going to be permitted, what spaces are going to be left untouched so that the water can rise up and not impact anybody. There are a lot of decisions that have to be made. And then that needs to be coordinated at the state level. So I think our newly elected folks are going to really have to stay involved in that process because all it takes is one storm.
That's it.
And everybody suddenly realizes how vulnerable we are.
Absolutely.
I just want to say that I think we're in pretty good shape for 2 reasons. Number one, I believe that when John Opie was first selectman, our whole sewage treatment plant was upgraded. It's now state of the art. And in fact, I believe we take in sewage from other towns to process it. So that's in good shape. And because the old one used to leak, they used to open the valves if there was too much water. The other thing that's good too about Branford, at the time that Jamie Cosgrove's grandfather, Daniel Cosgrove, put in the sewers, they kept them all to themselves. Other towns would add in like the storm catch basins onto the same system, so it would really flood, during rains. But I think that this has happened in certain places around town. I mean, it's not pure from the, it's not pure sewage, but it's close to being pure sewage. So I mean, from that point of view, I think we're in pretty good shape.
I think I'm hearing something about the governor's race, that they're like 900 votes apart right now, I think, with Ned leading.
Okay.
Oh, really?
And there's only 900 votes apart at this moment at like 9:30 p.m. on November 6, 2018.
Amazing.
Just hearing that coming in from the control room.
Wow.
Only 900 votes right now apart.
Close.
With Ned just slightly ahead there. That's amazing. That tells you something, too. I mean, the tightness of the governor's race.
Yes.
What people are thinking about statewide and what they're looking for, right?
Yeah, well, that's what the polls were predicting. I mean, all over this country, it seemed like race after race, everything was too close to call. Everybody is right on either one edge or the other, it seems.
This is like real the popcorn sort of viewing, isn't it, tonight? It's like the way it used to be years ago, remember? It's like the excitement of election night, and of course for all of us teamed together here once again working on it, really there is an excitement to it because, you know, some of these wins and some of the decisions that will be made going forward impact the lives of millions of people, including all of us going forward.
Sure, from taxes to policies to, you know, agency, you know, also, and it's, you know, it can be very powerful, you know, as to what choices it makes, what road it takes.
Absolutely. It always reminds me of that movie, The Candidate, with Robert Redford, because winning is just the beginning. And then that great scene after he wins, and then he said, now what? You know, there's this incredible epiphany of, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
That's me.
And getting up to speed really fast, hit the ground running is going to be really important, you know, coming up with budget recommendations. Whoever wins the governorship is going to have to pull it together and really come up with a game plan.
You know, speaking of that, Lonnie, they don't have
some
much
numbers coming in right now. These are incomplete numbers.
Okay.
Branford, 12th Senate District. Cohen, 6,841, and Adam Greenberg, 6,167, all districts for Branford.
Okay.
Yeah. There's Guilford, Cohen, 2,596. That's 2 districts out of 5 reporting thus far. Greenberg, 1,734. Cohen in the lead there.
That's where Cohen lives.
Yeah, Guilford is her town, right.
Well, she's out in front.
He's the latest. And there's Comey, of course, which we talked about earlier, the 1st District coming in here. They're counting those by hand, 1,268, and Robin Imperato, 1,161.
It was close.
In the first, absolutely. That is very close, In the 3rd, Comey, 889, Imperato, 448.
Well, that's her home.
Her district.
Right.
Short Beach.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, here's
and
the 4th.
And it's a Democratic district.
Right.
You know, it's
Comey, 1,299, Imperato, 1,076. That is in the 4th District.
That's very strong.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely. And there's the 5th for you. Comey, 1188, and Imperato, 1025.
And that's important too, as we spoke earlier. The 5th it can go literally either way.
Either way.
And so there was an issue there.
Yeah.
With the housing authority, and
exactly.
And so that's very interesting.
So any surprises from what you're seeing through these districts, or not so much? And then you got the 6th, of course, Comey, 935, Imperato, 921. Very close there, and that's they had the broken machine there too in that one.
Yeah.
That's real close. That's the latest there, and of course we'll have more updates.
That's a strong win,
as
though.
they come up.
That's taking every district.
She won every district.
Every district,
She won every district
that's
as well.
That's
that's great.
That's great.
And we were talking about some of the issues that are at hand: economy, minimum wage, tolls, taxes, and then of course Connecticut toying with the issue of marijuana, recreational, of course medicinal. Any thoughts on that? The neighboring state, Massachusetts, of course, going in that direction.
favors it, I believe, and I believe Cohen did too. She said that she wanted to see some studies done first, but you know she was open to it, whereas Greenberg opposed it. So that's what I saw. I don't know. I mean, other states are giving it the green light. The whole country of Canada has now. I don't know. I hear that it's really a gateway drug to other drugs, and that the smoke from marijuana, they say, is very toxic. And I don't know if we should be. I don't think it's a good thing myself.
I mean, I think my concern is what you just said. But I mean, it's being viewed as a revenue generator, and not smart public policy.
Exactly.
When I talk to doctors and scientists, they have real concerns about, you know, the easy availability of recreation, and that kids get it, and it really does impact, you know, their cognitive development.
Speaking of that, I saw a story that out in Colorado, where it is, you know, legalized, that auto accidents are up 10%.
Well, and I know a lot of the Colorado legislators, and they laugh. There is a windfall right now, but they're saying that so many people now are saying, well, why do we have to pay taxes on our marijuana? Why can't we just grow it and use it? So now there's a new underground market for marijuana that's growing of people who want to get it cheaper, you know.
Right.
So I mean, I think it's coming, and I think we're probably going to have it here just because it's happening all around us, and it does feel like that's where we're going. But it would be good to have some good conversations with real data and the impacts going forward on the states where it is.
There is, of course, the opioid problem that we've got nationwide, and we're trying to deal with it here in Connecticut as well. What are your feelings on how we can deal with that further to be more effective?
Well, I
sort of
think
in an overprescribed society.
Totally. I mean, Sean Scanlon, this has been his big issue for what, 4 years now, and he's right. I mean, it's terrible that this happens. I mean, people they can't just, if they feel bad, that's part of being human. You don't feel great all the time. Sometimes you feel good, sometimes you don't feel as good, but you don't reach for a pill. If you have a problem, then you have to deal with the problem. You don't just take a pill,
Right,
so
exactly.
That's what we need to do.
Well, it is, when you start to, and I remember I was at a conference in Europe on something on an energy issue, and but we started talking about healthcare costs, and this gentleman from London said to me, we Brits say that you Americans have the most expensive urine in the whole world, We take pills for everything, and the reality is that creates a culture in which you're always looking for something to, as you said, instead of sort of working it through or taking on an exercise regime, working through those kinds of things.
Exactly.
There's always there's a million pills for everything. In fact, you can't watch television anymore without a million pill ads for stuff you've never even heard of.
And then all the side effects after?
Yeah, exactly.
Scarier than what
the side effects.
The side effects
It feels
can
like a
kill
Saturday Night Live skit sometimes when they start laying out those side effects. It's unbelievable. It's like, and you could die. You could get lymphoma and die. But hey, you won't have to blow your nose for 2 days.
Well, they spend also too on those commercials, which is 60 seconds. They spend 30 seconds talking about how great the drugs, and then this guy talks real fast for the last 30 seconds, right?
The lawyer.
But didn't they just
about that.
Didn't they just approve something like a couple of days ago, the FDA, that is like an opioid situation that is 12 times more powerful than
Yes, I saw
the most
that.
powerful opioid out there so far?
Jim, I saw that. I saw and that's crazy. That's adding gas to the fire.
12 times more.
Yeah.
Well, and all the research shows that actually the pharmaceutical companies drove the opioid epidemic. They really, it was a hard sell, and doctors took it on as well and began prescribing them that no one should have. Oh, and the amounts that you get for surgery, you have enough for a year of opioid pills, and they get into people's cabinets. They either they like that feeling and they keep taking them, or they put them in their cabinets, and then their teenage grandson gets into them, and you could just see how it began to weave throughout the society.
Exactly.
So.
We're actually going to go to a very special video that comes to us from Smile Anyway, and they've got a concert, Love is Louder, and it's about a 5-minute video, and it is addressing the opioid crisis. So we're going to transition beautifully right into that.
Hi, John Cadillac Seville from iHeartRadio. It's good to be down here at the O and Ego in Branford. I mean, who would think on this Friday night here in August we have this beautiful, cool night with a breeze, and there's just so much love in the air. I mean, that's what it is, all about Love is Louder.
I'm just so proud to be here tonight. It's a lot of fun. We got some great bands. We got some great food trucks.
You can just hear the energy. You can hear the vibe in the background. People are smiling. People are feeling good.
Hi, I'm Amy Johansson. I am the founder of Smile Anyway. My son was very into music. Turned me on to a lot of really cool music. I started Smile Anyway after my son died back in 2013 from a substance-induced alcohol suicide. He was 24 years old.
What we're trying to do with Smile Anyway is offer a residential inpatient program so that those coming out of rehab can have more life skills. We hope to teach, maybe art, maybe yoga.
Smile Anyway is about getting them for continual care right from the rehab with plenty of supports for not just them but the family. That's often not included in rehab.
Most rehabs are 30 days, then you're let out and you're expected to get back into society.
If I can save one family from going through the grief and the pain that I feel daily, then I'm making a difference and I'm doing something worthwhile. That's all that matters.
If you look around at these posters, we have 127 young people who died as a result of drug abuse. I want you to remember these faces, these people. There's a family and a community behind every one of them. I'm with a group called Today I Matter. We were started in tribute to my son Timothy, who died from a heroin overdose 2.5 years ago. One of the things we're here with today, we have this memorial poster project that we travel around the state with. Right now we're up to 127 poster-sized photos of individuals who have died from addiction-related problems. So we talk about these individuals, but nowhere does it say addict. These people were so much more than that, and we want them to be remembered that way. We've all heard about the numbers. In this country, 72,000 people died from addiction and overdose last year. When you see a name and a photo, it makes it more real. And people leave here feeling this problem, not just understanding it.
Music is a commonality. Music is a common language. It brings people together, you know, and you have different people of all different backgrounds here, all different music taste. But one thing we all have in common is our love for children, love for young adults, and we just want to be able to do whatever we can to kind of help them in the future. But we have to listen.
I think, you know, music in particular is an avenue where, you know, our youth can come together and be connected with one another.
I think music is important for life in general. For people in recovery, I think music's a great way to cope with the struggles of addiction. You know, it's a great outlet for people to kind of get out of their head. I think music has helped me tremendously along my way, and it's good for everybody.
What I want to do is pull everyone together to start positive conversations. I find that people learn by using all our senses, not just listening, not just watching. Music is a universal language. It's deep, it's moving, but it's also about bringing positive energy.
Music strikes you with the emotions. My son Tim was a musician, as I said, and him and a lot of people who are struggling will find strength in music. They find community in other music lovers, but they find connections with people and musicians and artists who understand emotions, who understand pain.
The music is just a method of healing and a way to express oneself in a positive way. So I know we need to do a lot more with mental health, and Amy is all about, and this foundation is all about being able to provide a better environment for people that are struggling and who need a different type of outlet.
Make sure that if you are somebody who is suffering or you know somebody is, find the resources that are available to get them the help that they need. Contact my office, contact any number of nonprofits that are out there, such as Smile Anyway, and let's get people the help they deserve and let's save lives. So thank you so much.
You can bet down Connecticut down and what they really know about me. Mama put it in the boogie. I tell you, baby. Put it in the boogie. What you tell me, little mama? Can you put it in the boogie? Tell me, baby. I put it in the boogie. Oh, Lord, let me do it like this, mom. Just listen to that new rant. It's amazing. You can't just say it's been spinning. Get in the rip where you sit and don't sit on the groove that they groove in. We can play. Ever since the mind and he come down to a G, you're finding me in the rhyme is free, not trying to be. But my mind was sharper than the diamond bay. People get caught in the hot band, the top water in on their own, the types that ain't for me.
One of the many fabulous productions here at BCTV that was produced and edited by our very own Rob Baldo. Appreciate the work, and that's such a nice thing to see, isn't it? Right here in town, that a Smile Anyway, Love is Love concert and events. To see grassroots, community-minded things like that, really important. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's impacting so many families, and so many families that have been there and are still struggling are so generous to share their experience and to reach out and to try to help other people. And we have so many people along the shoreline in Branford and Guilford and Madison and all of our areas who are working really hard to try to get out in front of this. And no, it's great. It's important.
It really
You
is.
know, you don't want things to come from the top down. You want them to come from the bottom up.
Right. What's nice too is to see everybody from all different age groups, demographics, and socioeconomic influences coming together for a common cause, which is what we really need more of right now in our country, but especially with something like that, because it really impacts everybody.
Well, and it's so interesting. I've been doing a lot myself with a lot of the opioid addiction programs and trying to find ones that are the most successful. And when you talk to parents and you talk to you know, folks that are battling addiction, one kind of common through line is that they all feel so isolated.
Yeah.
You know, they feel isolated and lonely, although they're surrounded by people all the time. There's you know, these things happening inside themselves, and to be able to, you know, understand that and to reach in there and to make people feel connected and heard, understood, and loved.
Right.
You know, it's really important.
Very important.
Also, you know, that's the first time that organization had something like that in Branford in August at the Onigo. I hope they do it again next August.
Word that we're going to go to a concession speech. We're going to see which one it is right now. Adam Greenberg on BCTV.
Green A!
I just want to start off by letting you all know that I have called Christine Cohen, and I have congratulated her on her embarking on her new journey as state senator for the 12th district. With that being said, I also want to let everyone know how the conversation went. Christine was very gracious in commending me on an unbelievable campaign, and I think everyone here can attest to that. We did a hell of a job. And I also wanted to take a moment with Christine and let her know that this was never about me. This was always about the people here in the 12th district that I call home, where I was born and raised, and in the state that I'm choosing to live in with my family, my wife Lindsay and our two sons, Leo and Ryder. And I asked Christine to please go into this with her heart and her mind and her gut, and to make decisions that are right for the people here in the state. Not to make a decision based on party lines or based on outside interests that are pushing her to do something. After that conversation, Christine confirmed. I love you too, buddy. Christine confirmed and reassured me and all of you here that she will not vote party lines, and she will not vote based on outside special interests. So what we all have to do is support her in the effort. We do not need divisiveness and division. We've had too much of it. This country has gone through enough. If we do not unify, we're only hurting ourselves. So we're going to band together. We have a chance here in the state to turn it around. I hope that Christine will be a part of that change. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be helping in any way that I can, and I will be a support. I want to make sure that I definitely thank my wife, Lindsay, who's been through the ringer with me. Seven months of door knocking, of events, of carnivals, of festivals, of serving seniors breakfast and dinners and lunches. And more important than anything is developing unbelievable relationships and friendships and understanding truly how desperate people are to just have someone and a group come together. When I would go out and knock on doors and talk to people, the biggest thing people would say is, yeah, but just don't talk to my neighbor. They don't agree with you. They don't agree with me. And you know what I would tell them?
your neighbor who's right next door, the neighbor across the street that I'm putting a lawn sign in. You guys have similar interests. We have to not be afraid to have these conversations. Whether it's politics, whether it's talking about tolls, whether it's talking about property taxes, or just where our beliefs are. Just because somebody has a belief doesn't mean that they're wrong. And when I was campaigning, if the first question out of somebody's mouth was, well, what party are you? My answer always was, my name is Adam Greenberg, and I grew up in Guilford, and I live in Branford. I played Major League Baseball, and I got knocked down. And here's what I'm about. And once that happened, everyone was more willing to listen. And we need more of that. That's such a problem. What party are you? And immediately shut off. We have to change that. And if we band together and give our ideas, because we have some great ideas in this room. And I commend everyone who's worked up at the state legislature, who's been in the minority, and worked so hard and battled to finally stop the tax increases. And it was because people didn't give up. The message that I want to portray is the message that I deliver to audiences all across the country, from elementary schools to Fortune 500s. Don't give up. Persevere. Push through. We've been knocked down. We are down, but we will get up. This is not my end. This is not our end at all. I don't know what the future in politics holds me. I do know that I'm very blessed and fortunate to have a wife and 2 kids and family and a support staff that's unprecedented. It's unlike anything. And I've heard from many people in 20 years of doing this. I've never seen a campaign run this way. And you know what? I said, I'm going to come in up here with a character and a class and a value system. And I'm fortunate to have been raised by some great people that instilled that in me. And I'm fortunate to have been married into a family that instills that in all of us. We've come together. I am just so eternally grateful to all of you. I was trying to write a list of who to thank, and the list is endless. And I don't want to leave anyone out, and because I don't ever write speeches or hold anything up, I certainly just want to point out there's a couple people that enabled me the opportunity to grow as a person and as a politician. And now I can say as a politician, even though I didn't win, I still think I hold a little bit of ranks there. Absolutely. And I hope he's here. Chris Healy. I don't know if he is here, but Chris Healy's one of the head of, he's had a rough day, but as the head of the Senate caucus, Chris helped me endlessly, and I'm so grateful. He came down here, he drove me around door to door, zipping in and out, reading, well, maybe while he wasn't driving, but he hit a few things, but it's okay. It was just the trees, and they didn't go far. But anyway, it was just his expertise and his calm demeanor was just tremendous. And as I said, there's too many people to thank individually. Obviously, my in-laws, Massimo, out till didn't sleep last night putting up signs for us. All the RTC chairs. Lynn, of course, the front row is one of my number one supporters. Everyone who donated to the campaign, all my friends, my family, Mike Peck sitting there in the front, my brother-in-law, you've been amazing. So thank you. Eddie behind him. My mom and dad came up from Maryland. Thank you so much. My business partners flew in and drove in. Kelly Ricciardi, who was my treasurer. Cindy Cartier. I'm getting a gem. Cindy Cartier, who left, who was also a treasurer. And I will say, Jen, you got to come over here. I need you. I need you. Come here. I said earlier, this is my rock. This is her name's Jennifer Casado, and when I first met Jen, it was here, and it's fitting that we started here at Donovan's Reef in the sonar room, and we're finishing up here. And when I first met Jen, I knew there was something special about her, and she's taught me everything. She has helped me with all my Facebook Lives, all of my social media, all of my emails that come in. She has just educated and trained me, and better than all of it, she's become like a best friend. And stop crying. But this is, I'm just so grateful to have such an amazing group of people here. I am disappointed. I'm not gonna lie.
Don't give up.
No, I'm not. No. I'm not giving up. I just have to tell all of you that I'm disappointed, because I so badly wanted to be that guy that could be the voice in Hartford for you, because you were my inspiration. Every single door, every single phone call, every single email, message, everything that came through, it kept pushing me and pushing me. And it's just, it's disappointing to not be able to take that right now up to Hartford starting in January. But as I said, thank you, thank you. This is not a loss. This is not a loss. This is just a little bump. And I talk about it all the time. If we look at obstacles as roadblocks, then we lose. If we look at them as speed bumps, then we win. So this is just a little speed bump for us, and we're going to do this. So thank you.
The concession speech for Adam Greenberg, Republican. He was the candidate for the 12th State Senate District. That means, of course, that Christine Cohen, the Democrat, has won. And we thank you very much for the coverage that we've received with that concession speech. Any comments on what you just saw and witnessed and heard?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to mention that I believe he just turned 37 years old.
Right.
I don't have the figures. I don't know how close it was. Of course, it's a huge district. Durham is, part of it. Madison, Guilford, Branford, North Branford. So I don't know whether it was close or not. So, but he was brand new to politics. It was his first run of anything. He's got an extremely inspiring story. He was struck his first pitch working for the Chicago Cubs, and he was out on and he had to teach himself to play baseball again, and he brought himself back to the majors. I mean, it's a real inspiring story. So I think we'll see him, for some other seat coming up.
Well, and I would say, again, like Bob Imperato, he made it clear we have to all work together. We are neighbors, we are friends, we all have the same goals. We want to create a better life for everybody in the community. So I was very impressed by that. I think that the level of establishing civility and bringing a sense of joining forces to get where we need to go is really, really important. So I was impressed by that.
Well, it's been an amazing evening as we get ready to wrap things up here at BCTV. We've been going for almost 3 hours with live coverage. It's really historic, and we've had live remotes from Democratic and Republican headquarters as well. It's a team effort with all the folks here at BCTV behind the scenes, behind the cameras, in the control room, folks out on the locations, our reporters Zachary and Carla. And it's a team effort, and of course, working with you guys again, Frank and Lonnie. It's been a real pleasure as always.
It's great to work with you, Jim. And also I wanted to give you thanks for all your, you're involved with television, like what 24/7 basically with all the programs you're doing now for. It's just great. So.
Yeah, I host PTV on Fox 61. I'm with PBS, Connecticut Public Television, and CUTV News in New York, anchoring and hosting there as well. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Jim Masters TV.
And he'll deliver a pizza if you need it.
And I will deliver a pizza, and I hope they still have some for us in the lobby.
He's a Renaissance man. He does it all.
We've earned the pizza tonight, gang. Thanks again, Lonnie. It was an honor and pleasure.
I just wanted to mention before we, who would have loved this evening would be Marcia Chambers, our friend Marcia Chambers, whom we lost way too soon. And she's a person, she was just one of the most intrepid reporters for the New York Times, and she was an author. She wrote The Unplayable Lie, a really marvelous book about golf, closing out its ranks to women, and she, you know, and she loved Branford, and she loved our community, and she was just a force of nature. So. Here's to you, Marcia.
She was with the Branford
and
Eagle.
also the Branford Eagle. I mean, she
hosted a show on BCTV.
Yeah, she did a show, and she was always involved with our election show. But she that BranfordEagle.org. I mean, she wrote so many articles. Yeah. She was writing until like 2 days before she unfortunately passed away. I mean,
absolutely. So we dedicate this broadcast on November 6, 2018 to the memory of Marcia Chambers, because she was one of our reporters as well here on Election Night Live for, I think, the very beginning, since the very, very beginning, and she did a wonderful job. So our best to her family and friends and loved ones. For the entire team here at BCTV, this is Jim Masters with Lonnie Reid, Frank Twohill. Thanks to everybody behind the scenes, and thanks to you for watching, and we'll see you next year for BCTV Election Night, right?
Absolutely.
2019. Have a good night.
Good night.